It was a lavish evening at one of the most exclusive restaurants in town. The chandeliers gleamed overhead, and the scent of fine food filled the air. Clint Eastwood, a legend in the world of film and a man who had seen and experienced just about everything, sat down at a quiet corner table. He had chosen this restaurant for a simple, quiet dinner after a long day of meetings and projects. Clint wasn't one for the spotlight in his personal life, preferring to enjoy a meal without the crowds or the cameras. But tonight, he had no idea what was about to unfold. As he perused the menu, a young waiter approached his table. The man in his early 20s appeared to be eager, but perhaps a bit too eager. He quickly began listing the specials for the evening, but there was something off about his attitude. Clint glanced up from the menu, giving the waiter a polite smile. However, the waiter didn't return the smile. Instead, he continued speaking without acknowledging Clint's presence. "You'll probably want something simple, right? We don't really serve regulars like you, anything too fancy," the waiter said dismissively, without even bothering to meet Clint's eyes. Clint raised an eyebrow. The audacity of the comment surprised him. For a moment, Clint wondered if he had heard correctly. Was this really happening? He had been in this world for decades, met hundreds of people, and never had someone treated him with such disrespect, especially not in a place like this. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below, and stay with us to see how this surprising situation unfolds. Clint sat back, slightly taken aback. The waiter's tone was condescending, as if Clint were just another regular customer, someone unimportant, someone who didn't belong in a restaurant like this. It was one thing to be dismissive of a customer, but it was another thing to insult them without even realizing who they were. Clint could feel the tension building, but he didn't want to cause a scene. Instead, he decided to test the waters. "I'm sorry, did you say something about my choice?" Clint asked, keeping his voice calm, but with an edge that suggested he wasn't going to just let this slide. The waiter glanced at Clint but quickly looked away. "I just meant you probably don't want anything complicated, right? It's fine. We'll get you something basic, no problem." Clint's smile remained in place, though his eyes narrowed. "I see. And you are the one who decides what I want to eat then?" The waiter, now feeling slightly uncomfortable, nodded quickly, thinking Clint was simply playing along with his playful banter. "Of course," he said, still avoiding eye contact. "Our menu is a bit too sophisticated for people like you, but I'll take care of it." It was clear the waiter didn't know who Clint Eastwood was. His words, though rude, didn't faze Clint entirely. What struck him more was how arrogantly the waiter assumed that he could judge someone based on their appearance or presumed status. Clint was no stranger to being underestimated, but this was a bit much, even for him. What do you think will happen next? Keep watching to see how Clint Eastwood takes control of the situation. Clint's patience was running thin, but he didn't want to escalate things. He could have easily let his reputation do the talking, but Clint was more than just a famous actor. He was a businessman, an owner of several fine establishments, including this very restaurant. He had invested years of time and money to make sure places like this thrived, and it infuriated him to see someone treating customers so poorly. Still, Clint remained calm. "You know," he said casually, "I'm actually very particular about what I eat. I don't like people deciding for me. Maybe you could bring me a wine list first, and we'll take it from there." The waiter seemed to take the hint, though he still didn't fully grasp who he was dealing with. He nodded and turned to leave, his back still turned as he headed to the wine cellar. Clint's mind raced for a moment. The young man had no idea who he was talking to. Clint wasn't just any customer, he was the owner. But he decided to let the waiter continue with his misguided assumptions for a moment longer. As Clint glanced around the room, he couldn't help but notice the other patrons, some of them stealing glances at him, perhaps recognizing him, but unsure whether to approach. The restaurant was known for its discreet nature, but Clint didn't need anyone else's attention right now. He just wanted to enjoy his meal. But the waiter was still pushing Clint's patience to the limit. "Stay with us, because what happens next will completely surprise you." As the waiter returned with the wine list, Clint decided it was time to reveal the truth. "You know," he said, glancing at the wine list but not really paying attention to it, "I actually own this place." The waiter stopped in his tracks, his eyes widening as he processed Clint's words. For a moment, there was silence. The waiter's face shifted from confidence to discomfort as he tried to recover from his mistake. What do you mean? The waiter stammered. Clint looked up, meeting the waiter's eyes for the first time, his gaze steady. I mean, Clint said slowly, I'm the owner of this restaurant. I invested in it, I built it from the ground up, and I have a very active role in running it. The waiter's face turned pale. He had insulted the very man who was responsible for the place he worked. His heart began to race as he realized the gravity of his error. The waiter was embarrassed, to say the least. I didn't know, sir, the waiter said quickly, his voice shaking. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I've just been working here for a few weeks, and I didn't recognize you. Clint gave a small, amused smile, but there was no hiding the disappointment in his voice. That's the problem, isn't it? Clint replied. You shouldn't be assuming things about people, especially when you have no idea who they are. The waiter nodded rapidly, desperate to make amends, his hands now trembling slightly. I understand, sir. I'm truly sorry. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Clint leaned back in his chair, his tone softening just a bit. I'll let it slide this time, he said. But next time, treat all your customers with respect. You never know who they might be. Stay tuned, because the waiter's response and Clint's decision will leave you shocked. The waiter stood there, still flustered, unsure of what to say next. Clint's words hung in the air, a reminder of how important it was to treat everyone with dignity, regardless of their appearance or status. After a few moments of uncomfortable silence, the waiter bowed his head, apologizing again. Clint gave him a nod, signaling the end of the conversation. Now, Clint said, looking down at the menu, how about we start over? You can recommend something. I'll leave it up to you, but remember, this is about quality, not assumptions. The waiter, now visibly relieved that Clint wasn't going to make a scene, quickly composed himself. Of course, sir. I'll take care of it right away. Thank you for your patience. As the waiter left to place Clint's order, Clint sat back, a quiet satisfaction settling over him. He had just taught the young man a lesson about humility, respect, and the importance of never judging someone by their appearance. And while Clint could have made a bigger spectacle of the situation, he chose to handle it with grace. It was a lesson that would likely stay with the waiter for the rest of his career. Later that evening, Clint enjoyed his meal in peace, surrounded by the elegance and quiet atmosphere he had come to love about his restaurant. If you found this story as surprising as we did, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to keep up with more incredible stories like this one.